Yo, what is going on? So I wanted to do a video where I kind of talk about some of the things that were kind of happening on Maple recently. Yesterday, whew, there was quite a lot going on. So for those of you who are unaware, so yesterday, somebody who sold Frenzy service in Scania got banned for RWTing. They sent in a ticket request and like to appeal their ban, and this was the response for the GM, saying stuff like Frenzy service is against our TOS, can be sanctioned even if there's no real money involved. And then they even go as far as to say like to report people for doing this, and this let a lot of people into panic mode, like death of interactive world and all that. But turns out it ended up being a miscommunication from from the GM, confirmed by Potero. So yeah, and this is interesting because this is the first time where, well, the second time they mentioned Frenzy service, second after the Inkwell note, first time being in the Inkwell note, second time now, and this is basically confirming that hey, Frenzy service is perfectly fine as long as you're selling it and buying it with in-game stuff like Meso. I know some people sell it for fragments, stuff like that. So that's cool that we got a confirmation on that. I'm thinking I might end up selling Frenzy service during Night Troop as long as I can get consistent customers going. So that's really interesting. And another thing is that Maplestory WORLDS is getting a global soft launch available in the Americas. Let's check out the quick 30-second trailer, or teaser rather. $30 billion assets, man. 30 billion. You can make anything. Action, arcade, defense, adventure, shooting, FPS, CS:GO, and you can hey, you can make some money, I guess, off of Nexon for once. So what does this exactly mean? This is basically Roblox / Mario Maker, more on the Roblox side than Mario Maker, for Maplestory, and it's getting released in Americas, I believe, and like to the Western audience. And what does this exactly mean? Hey, this already exists in Korea Maple, and what people have recreated is, an old school experience. You can essentially have an official old school experience, and I believe that this is the best thing that we'll ever get to have that sort of old school Maplestory experience. And word on the grapevine is that the creator of that old school experience using Maple Worlds over in the Korea version is planning on porting it over to the global version. So old school Maple officially could I don't know if anybody was around the stream when it was very popular amongst the KMS streamers, but we could have some moments like these again. Oh yeah. This is what we can expect to see from Maple Worlds. An experience like so. Volume warning. Oh wait, I don't think this is where he screams. But yeah, 35 decks on a robe. Dang, I got the wrong clip where he revealed it for himself. But basically, we can expect to see something along this lines being created in Maple Worlds for us all to play. So, all those old school Maple fans, you might have something to look forward to. When is it? October. I believe it is October 16th. So here we go. Wow. Release soon. I wonder when we can sign up for it, but I'm looking forward to it. I definitely will play it, and we'll see what it's all about. Now moving on to the Inkwell note. So I'm not going to read it word for word. And I want to have like a disclaimer before I get into it. I understand that a lot of people are upset with it because it doesn't have like a whole lot to it. That like this Inkwell note compared to the previous one. But I'll say that like straight up, I'm not like super disappointed. I wasn't even really expecting it to be an Inkwell note. I was expecting it to be like a Maple memo just addressing Frenzy. Because that's basically what was said in the first one, saying like we want to like hopefully we'll have like an answer for Frenzy in the September note. So, and I know that there's a lot of things, like a lot of problems still not addressed and everything with this. That's not what I'm going to be talking about here because like how many times do I need to say, like, you know, obviously there are still underlying issues with GMS, but I'm just going to be summarizing what is here and my thoughts about it in a sense. All right. So yeah, Go West, you know, was the first, like I said, it was like the biggest like step in the right direction for GMS. And you know, one thing that was said back then in June was, or May or whatever it was about Frenzy. And their plan for Frenzy is, first off, Frenzy Totem in Interactive World as is not getting changed at all. It's staying completely the same. So Frenzy Totem in-game, there's nothing changing about it. It still sell, still buy service, it still will have the same effect, and it still will be a discontinued item. Like nothing is changing with the Frenzy Totem that is currently in the game. Right. So what they're planning to do is release a new totem. Not sure what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be coming. Well, it's going to be coming in a while. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wait quite a bit longer than personally I would like to, but anyways, so there's going to be two ways to obtain it. One way is going to be from Philo Books. One way is going to be from in-game rewards. Only interactive world. And it's going to be the same exact thing, same exact effects as a Frenzy Totem, except that when you cast on a map and then you leave the map, the effect will not stay for 10 minutes like it does with the Frenzy Totem. That's the only difference in terms of the actual like totem effect. Now, the one from Philo Books is going to be available 2 weeks after November 20th, which is going to be, you know, like December 4th. And then the one from in-game activities is going to be like 3 months after November 20th, which is going to be, you know, like, I don't know, February 19th, the end of February, start of March. somewhere around there, right? And like, I think that the Philo Book 1 being 90 days is kind of weird. I do kind of wish it was permanent, but I guess we'll see what happens with that. And then the vagueness on in-game activity or in-game rewards or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that can mean anything, right? It can mean like in events, like maybe you get it once or twice a year, like you do with Backpet, like a free Backpet, right? Maybe it means you can get it each month from Fairy Bros. Maybe it means it only comes from Battle Pass. It can mean anything. And the vagueness of it honestly does have me kind of skeptical and a bit worried that they're not going to make it correct. But it could go either way, right? I guess time will tell. And the long wait period for it, like 12 weeks after 255, that is a long time for sure. And I definitely was hoping that it could be done sooner. I really do hope that. But I don't know. Waited this long, I guess we can wait longer. At the very least, like, we have like a pinpoint like date ready for it, right? And then the one from Philobux, he does mention that it will they'll be easier to obtain than they were in when they were in the Marvel machines. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of questions like with these totems, like what in-game activities, how rare they're going to be from Philobooks. When you get them from Philobooks, are they going to be like, is it going to be a coupon that's permanent and then tradable, much like, you know, Firestarter ring coupon, Lucid Earring coupon, stuff like that? I'm assuming that it's going to be tradable, and we'll see how much they're worth in the market, because at the end of the day, if these solutions aren't going to be good, Frenzy Service, now knowing, is allowed, and, you know, available, people are just going to turn to that. But we just kind of have to wait and see. There's definitely a lot of questions still unanswered about this. I wish we did have more information. But overall, I do like the idea of the new totem. Like, it could go very well, or it could just be like, alright. I don't think it could really be like terrible though, because like even if like worst case scenario they're really rare from Philobooks, the in-game reward is locked behind like something and it's only like once a year, it's better than nothing, but it's definitely not. It's I don't see really any negative in a sense. So yeah, I don't like how long we have to wait. I don't like. I really do think the one in Philo should be permanent, but we'll see how common it is, how much people are going to sell them for in the auction house if they're tradable, and how easily the in-game one is. I like the idea of this for sure. I really do, but we're gonna have to wait and see how it's implemented, and if the mystical cards are, if anything, to show you it might not be implemented well. Speaking of which, now the mystical familiar cards, like the way they implemented them was not a good idea, like at all, right? Like mystical familiar cards, I like the concept of them being purchasable in the like familiar point shop, but they limited it to once a month and 10K, and clearly people weren't happy with that. So what they deciding to do starting October 1st is, instead of 10K and 1 a month, it's going to be 4K and 3 a month. Now the 4K price point, like to my understanding, it's around 3K familiar points worth of familiar cards to tier up, like like from the blue to epic to unique, which is essentially the same thing as rerolling unique once. However, since mystical cards can be used on legendary familiars, I know that legendary familiars in Heroic World are very scarce, but in Interactive World you can buy pre-legendary familiars from auction house and stuff, from people who roll them, from Marvel and Philos and stuff. I think 4K is fine. Like, I think it's fine, personally. But the monthly purchase limit being 3, it should just be unlimited. And, like, overall, the Mystic Familiar card, like, it's a good idea, but what's kind of the point if familiars aren't dropping from everywhere? Like, in Interactive World, you have to go and buy 400 familiar cards off of somebody and then extract all of them to get this. And then in Heroic World, it's even worse. You have to go back to, like, Cernium and below and farm 400 familiar cards and extract them. It doesn't really solve the overall issue with familiar cards where, you would want them to be droppable from wherever you're training. And it's only going to get more and more of a compound issue, especially with the 290 area that's going to be released, like, at the same time that we're going to be expecting people to start getting the in-game reward totems. Like, we need them to, like really fast track that, because it's just going to get further and further behind. Because once the 290 area comes out, the 290 plus players with the new symbol and everything giving Meso XP drop rate, and the new symbols dropping especially, like, you're going to want to farm at the highest level area when you get there. And it's always been weird where you get punished the higher you go, because if you look at Arcane River, you get rewarded the higher you go, right? Like, you start getting better XP, and then familiars start dropping at, like, Moonbridge and above. But then you get to Cernium, and then they start dropping familiars, and then, yeah, the XP starts going up, but then the loot goes down. It's very weird, and I really wish that they would just make, like, familiars drop everywhere at this point. Like, I think that needs to be fast-tracked for sure. So that's my thoughts on that. So the field harvesting thing, this I'm indifferent from. Like they removed all the, like, harvesting stuff from, like, monster maps and moved it to Ardent Mill, and I don't know really the full details on this, but apparently it's, like, really hard to get, like, magic powders and all that. I mean, Threads of Fate is a blessing for GMS for sure, for materials. I think Magic Powder is a huge issue, though. Like, it's not easy to get that by any means. So I'm really indifferent about this, but they're basically saying, like they have ideas to improve, getting the harvesting and the materials and such. So they're saying there'll be an event during the winter update that'll make it easier to collect primary harvesting items. So they'll probably just add it, like, honestly, to the coin shop or something. But I don't know. We'll see. I like the idea of, it coming from events. I think that's fine. I'm really indifferent about this. I think it's fun, though. And then he goes on and talks a lot about, like trying to find developers, and how Dr. Lim is like a head developer. So now we know, like, when things are crashing and there's a lot of bugs and all that stuff, we know that we know now who to get mad at. Dr. Lim. He's the head developer, What are you developing, bro? But basically the TLDR of this is that, like, they're saying, like, it'll take, like, another year or two for things to really, or at least that's what they're hoping in the next year or two, for them to really be able to capitalize on what Go West actually means, like doing GMS exclusive content, things exclusive for GMS. And I've been saying that since the Go West update, I've said a lot, like it'll take 1 or 2 years and before we can start seeing this like really start to happen in the better for GMS, right? And I know people are upset with how long that's going to take for that, but like it's very hard to get a developer team, and I can only imagine how hard it is to get people to work for Nexon considering their track record and whatnot. But I think I would like to be optimistic on this, and it'll be worth the wait, right? Like, we know that September next year, the world merge for Interactive World being a thing. We know now, like, the December and then March, we'll start getting the new totems. We'll see how that's implemented. And they're hoping, you know, like the more mystical cards from events and whatnot. It was also mentioned, I forgot to say that earlier. I think that, like, yeah, like waiting to 1 to 2 years, like obviously the sooner the better, but this stuff takes time, and it's not like we're just not gonna get things in between now and then, right? Like we have gotten, you know, untradeable fragments to tradable. It's not like we have to wait a whole year or two for them to make changes like that. Got Cernium familiars and such. I know that is not a lot, but it's also like you can try to expect that, like, little, I mean, it's little changes that make a big impact like that, right? Like, you know, tradable solid and hard cues. We still need that, like, badly and all that. So I think it's fair to say that you can expect, like, hopefully, for them to implement stuff like that. It's not like you have to wait 1 to 2 years for them to do absolutely anything that would make sense for GMS, if that makes sense. But yeah, this stuff does take time, and I know it sucks, but I would hope that they make little changes that make a big impact, that are like glaring issues between now and then, right? That's what I would hope. But again, I'm always on the I'll believe it when I see it train. And then, like, he talks about Maple Fest and the winter update, but there's going to be some GMS exclusive content that's going to be not like anything crazy. So we'll see what that's all about. They're going to be talking about the milestone update at Maple Fest, stuff like that. And then, you know, says thank you for reading. And then we get some rewards, right? Juice up. But yeah, the rewards, you know, they're not bad. Not bad. 5 mystical cards. I mean, I'm hoping that they just keep giving more and more of these out, for sure. Soul Urda fragments slash Soul Urda slash Soul Urda fragment selector. Good. You know, if you need the Soul Urda, if you have too many fragments, get the Soul Urda. If you have too many fragments, or you have too many Soul Urda, you need the fragments, select the fragments. Hopefully they will always just keep giving these coupons, so people can always just choose what they need. And, you know, some symbols is always nice. 3x buffs, VIP boosters, don't really need those. You know, Magpot's good for legioning and mains and all that. But yeah, my overall thoughts, I'm not as disappointed as some people might be on this. I like the idea for Frenzy, like the new totem and all that. I like it. I don't like the long waiting. I don't like the vagueness on in-game rewards. We'll see what the future has in store, but if they do this properly and do this correctly, like, it could be very good for the spawn enhancer, right? It could definitely be very good. And for the mystical familiar card, like, if they give out more and more, it's always better, but they really should consider making familiars drop from everywhere and really consider removing the limit, because removing the limit really has trickling effects. That's just better. Like, you can use any familiar you want. You know, it makes familiar selling and buying like very streamlined in interactive world. So familiars will add a decent chunk of value, because as fragment price goes down, you know, you're gonna want farming to still be valuable in interactive world. And I think that familiars dropping everywhere and unlimited limits, people are that will help a little bit, you know, and stuff like that. But overall, I'm not too disappointed. I know that some people are more, but that's my thoughts. Take it as you will. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and goodbye forever and ever. Please help. I'm being held captive. Got it, man!